And do you mind if we could start there and explain to people that proteins aren't just what we eat? What are proteins?
Yeah, I'm happy to. The proteins are a chain of amino acids so that what you eat gets broken down into the chain of amino acids, into the individual amino acids, or maybe peptides, which is just a couple amino acids or a small number of them. And so what you eat doesn't get just, if you eat collagen, it doesn't just immediately go into your skin. It gets broken out and then rebuilt into the collagen that's in your skin and your muscles and so on. And so having the right building blocks is essential. And there's about 20 amino acids, and half of them are called essential because they're ones you have to eat, and the other half your body will make. And so all of these amino acids get strung together, and they're called peptide bonds that hold the amino acids together in a big long string. And then for that to be a functional protein, it has to fold into a three-dimensional shape that will allow it to work. And the work is determined by its shape. So that shape is critically important. And then once it's folded, it can go off and do its work. And I should mention that if it doesn't fold correctly, if it misfolds or it becomes partially unfolded, then it can be a liability to the body because it can form tangles and plaques and things that are harmful, especially to anything that's neurodegenerative.
And if it doesn't unfold at all, nothing happens.
Correct. And
so it's super important that we have the proteins folding properly. Is it possible to, if one doesn't fold properly, is it possible to correct that misfolded protein?
Yes, they can. These proteins are getting damaged all the time. So when they're damaged, they're not quite right, but they fix themselves all the time as well. And so a protein can either be fixed so it's functional, or it should be shredded up and broken down through autophagy and either moved out of the body or the parts reused. And it's when those things don't happen that you can end up with things like unfolded proteins that then stick together and cause plaques and things that aren't good for you.
So those things is you can become diabetic, you can have heart disease.
Yeah. And it's really big in neurodegenerative, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, any of the neurological side of it. And so like in Alzheimer's, they see plaque and tau tangles that form in the brain. And then that really disrupts the neurology. So,
and what about muscle development, like exercise, energy?
well, your muscles and most of your body is made up of proteins as well. So they do all the work in there. They're called the workhorse of the cell. They're doing all the work, but they also make up almost all of your body, aside from water and obviously there's minerals and so on as well. But this is, my arm is mostly collagen and elastin and a variety of other proteins is what makes up this tissue. And then you mentioned energy, and energy is coming out of the mitochondria, but that's also relevant for the mitochondrial function. And all of the work that's done in terms of signaling and the body knowing what to do, all of those functions are protein. So just to kind of go through some of them, the proteins are structural, they're signaling, your antibodies are proteins, your enzymes are proteins. And so they're playing this really pretty much everything in the body, which we should back up a little bit to your specialty, which is the DNA and your genes, right? And you're like a thought leader in that area. Well, you only have one purpose for your genes, and that is as the code, they're the blueprint for the proteins. So
in other words, the DNA is purpose to make proteins to go on and do things in the body. It's important things, hormones, everything. You got to have healthy proteins, and most of us aren't having them, and we age. We age way unnecessarily. So, what about that? Like, what's the connection with aging? Like, in other words, if they're misfolded or they're not folding at all, are we aging? And then things like diet, stress, are they causing the misfolding of the proteins?
Absolutely. They kind of wear it down. And so the wrinkles on my face are there because the collagen hasn't been restored and built. And what happens is the whole system can be essentially compromised by oxidative damage. So even if you don't have any other kind of damage, no radiation, no issues, just breathing does oxidative damage. So you can't avoid it. And so with that damage, that what the most likely thing to damage is a protein, because they're very small and they're all over the place in your body. And so you're constantly being damaged. And then the question is, how well do you repair? You avoid damage with diet and nutrition, antioxidants, all those things prevent damage from happening. But they're not perfect, because we've never found a way for someone to not age. We just age more slowly, but we haven't eliminated it, because there's always some damage that gets through the antioxidant defense.